right, everyone. Welcome back to the Southern Utah Hockey Report. I'm Gabe Goche. We have Tommy Rupp here, and then our special guest, Cory Henwood. As we talked about in our last episode, this week is going to be the Red Rock Ball Hockey feature. So we are graced here with the founder of Red Rock Ball Hockey, Cory Henwood, and then we're going to recap everything that happened this fall season. We'll talk about the highs, we'll talk about the championships, and Tommy will give his analysis of the Red Rock Ball Hockey League. So, Cory, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your time from Thanksgiving weekend or with family, but just thank you for jumping on and talking to us and the fans.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm appreciative of the opportunity to showcase a little bit about what's happening with Red Rock Hockey.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. And you're a Canadian. Probably a lot of people don't know that, but you are from Nova Scotia, so you have the Canadian blood in you. What is it about hockey that has been a passion for you? And then what got you to start hockey here in St. George?
Yeah, grew up playing all forms of hockey, from the pond to the street to the kitchen floor, and obviously the ice rink. And we just played hockey all the time. My brothers and I, and my father, and our neighbors, and we actually ran with a street hockey league among the small neighborhood that we had growing up. We used to play down at one of the parking lots down the street and did that all the time growing up. And so I actually probably played even more street hockey than I did ice hockey. I just played all the time. And when COVID hit and my parents weren't able to come to the US and I wasn't able to take my kids back to Canada for a number of years, I got a bit homesick, to be honest. And I was thinking, like, how can I thought about moving, thought about doing all sorts of stuff. And I just felt like, man, I want my kids involved in similar things to what I had experienced growing up. And there was no ice hockey options anywhere close by at the time. Um, and anyway, nothing really similar. And thought that we had ball hockey and roller hockey happening with adults and wanted to start involving the kids. So from there, we just involved kids in like pickup games before the adult pickup games that we had back in around the pandemic until Dan DeCuster ended up connecting some dots between the city and a group that he and I both connected with up in St. George, the Staley family, who own the former boards of the Cedar City rink. And when they agreed to donate those boards to us and then ultimately to the city, that really sprung things into action to allow us to start holding more regular events. We started with some camps, put flyers out in the community, and ultimately to the league. And it's just been a community effort of a lot of people. I mean, I know my own story of why I wanted to have hockey here that I've shared, but there are plenty of others who have all been involved to try in different ways to get this happen for kids and for adults in our community. So it's been a great thing.
Awesome.
No, that's so awesome. And I got a question for you. Mine's two-part actually. So I'm going to dive more into the personal world of Cory Henwood, just because I know obviously Cory and I work together a lot with Red Rock Hockey. So a lot of these questions I kind of know the answers to, but I really wanted to showcase who you were as a person, because just from where I'm standing, it's been fascinating to be alongside you. And so my question is, who was the biggest influence in your life personally? And when you talk about kind of the history of growing up and playing hockey in the streets and everything like that, what's your first hockey memory?
Yeah, lots of opportunities with my dad, and I think that's in part why like I wanted to do something similar for my kids. My dad would always be down at the parking lot playing street hockey, or he often, like when it would snow, he would try to take care of the ice behind our house. We had a big pond behind our house, and he tried to get rid of the snow right away so we could play ice hockey. And it was rare that the ice would be really like just a perfect sheet. But there were days when my dad would take us out of school, come get us after he'd shovel the rink to come bring us out to play hockey. So my dad's a big hockey influence. for myself and for my brothers and I who got to play a lot, even just 2-on-2, the three of us boys and my dad often. And in terms of like professional icons, there's several, but I mean Maurice Richard and his resilience in hockey
The
has been
Rocket.
the Rocket, yeah,
Yes,
has been
indeedy.
a thing for me. So his whole story. Of course, I didn't ever get to see him play live or anything, or while he was in the prime of his career or anything. But he's always been an influence for me in resilience and working hard and making things pay off and going through whatever, finding a way or making a way, make things happen as he had to do. So
Love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you've talked a lot about not only just your childhood and then just being involved with kids and the impact that has to obviously have lasting memories. Now, your background is in education. So tell us a little bit more of what your background is in education and how does that translate to Red Rock ball hockey?
yeah, so I've been an educator for going on 15 years now, and been in classroom to every pretty much every other role to district administration, overseeing county offices of education and different programs within those offices. And that's where I am right now at Iron County School District as an innovation director. And one of my biggest drives within innovation in schools is to try to allow for more connection and more skill building that kind of goes beyond the traditional curriculum of like, learning your ABCs and your reading, writing, and arithmetic, to learning how to collaborate with others, to communicate well, to be resilient. All these things that I feel like hockey has also helped to teach me in kind of what I shared already. So these two things really mold well together because that's a passion of mine, both in education and helping develop those skills within both educators and students, but also doing that in extracurricular things like hockey. And so when we bring kids out to the rink for the first time and they come out for a camp or for their first league and season with us, it's important that each of them feels welcome, feels like they're cared for, and also that they find success quickly, that they're cheered on, that we help to guide them to feel a sense of worth as well as some confidence. And then they begin to really flourish in some of those other skills around team collaboration and communication and become more resilient over time. And that's been a really cool thing to see. I mean, I know both of you have had some experiences with that at the rink as well, and that's just an awesome thing.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, because I think there's a lot of your other family members that are involved in education, if I remember correctly. Like I believe your brother is a teacher in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, with you telling your stories kind of about your dad getting involved and helping and playing with all the kids in the street hockey, or flooding the ponds and taking care of the snow so you guys had somewhere to play. How much has education influenced your family, and is it does it go beyond just you and your brother, or are there multiple family members that have kind of been involved in paths of education and helping kids?
Yeah, my entire family really. My mother and father met at Teachers College in Nova Scotia.
That's awesome.
My mother was a career educator. My father went to Teachers College because it was 97% women. So
You just did the math, right?
yeah, he could never teach, but he knew his math, and it worked out well for him. So anyway, he didn't ever teach, but he's a great teacher. He's taught different things. He just never taught in the school system, and even though that's where he got his degree and whatnot. So, and then both my brothers and I are both they're both educators. So I've got the one in Las Vegas you mentioned, another one who's taught around the world and is now in Nova Scotia teaching again, but he's taught in Guatemala and Taiwan and all sorts of places. So
Wow.
so yeah, we're all very into education, and I would all say that all of us are also a little more forward leaning in education, trying to do some of those things I've talked about. I would say that's kind of been a family pursuit to do things that are a little more meaningful in education than simple literacy and numeracy skills that sometimes are a focus.
Nice.
That's awesome. And so to stay on top of education, future, and just overall development in Southern Utah and in St. George, without giving away too much information, Cory,
Mhm.
do you guys have future plans as far as expanding Red Rock hockey into like an educational system? And are you also going to be looking to have summer camps or camps that can involve kids in as far as athletics and education?
Yeah, we certainly have intent to provide these opportunities to more kids, expand these opportunities as much as we can, and to help fund some of those opportunities, beyond just St. George and in Las Vegas where we're at currently, so throughout Utah. Part of that will come through hockey and camps and leagues, and I hope to further that work also in education as well to provide those same kind of skills for students. So we'll see how those two things go hand in hand in the future, but we're excited about the possibilities of bringing that opportunity to more kids. We're certainly optimistic about some of the funding mechanisms that we're looking at to bring more of these kind of opportunities to students and to hockey players throughout the state of Utah. So that's exciting. We're we're lucky to partner with folks who want to see this work go forward and to have people backing us. In all realms, whether that's folks cheering us on at the Utah Hockey Club or in the education system. So it's a neat time to be involved in both. That's for sure.
That's great. And Tommy, before you jump in with your next question, just real quick, Cory, you mentioned Utah Hockey Club.
Mm.
Have there been any discussions that you have had with them, or has there been any outreach, or what's going on that front?
Yeah, there's a group of their folks who've met with me on two occasions now. We've been able to talk through all the work that we do and the work that they're trying to get off the ground um, with their street hockey initiative as well as their Grow the Game initiative. And so they've been very supportive. I think there's room for us to work together on a couple of things. Also bringing in the cities of Utah into that picture. And so we'll see how that all plays out. Not sure exactly the details quite yet. It's interesting. Kristen Bonus, who heads up that group, her and I, some of our chats, kind of led us to discussion of early days of hockey and my upbringing in Nova Scotia. And she's also oddly enough from Nova Scotia, which I didn't know before we got on the call.
That
And
that's very rare.
I should have figured that out though. I mean, it's kind of wild. I didn't think about it. But Rick Bonus, coach, that's her father, and I knew he was from Nova Scotia, so I didn't put it all together. So, but
You
now
got a lot going on.
yeah, now putting it all together, it's like, oh, I probably should have saw that coming.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a neat thing, small world, and hope to make those connections further. They sent us some gear to give out at our next camp, as well as looking at sending some of our volunteers to see a game. So they're very supportive. Good group of people there, and similar goals, of course, for both of us to grow the game. So
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. And you want to make it feel like an even smaller world. Believe it or not, Rick Bonus, believe, was a player for the Salt Lake Golden Eagles back in the day.
oh,
So, yeah, the fact that here we are talking about the organic growth of hockey, obviously how much of a religion hockey is in the Canadian country. And now we see that kind of hockey culture starting to grow here in the state of Utah. And lo and behold, you're talking to someone who is very involved in the game and has a father who's a very prolific figure that actually used to be a part of a Salt Lake program. And that kind of leads me into my next question is just from your outside perspective, growing up in Nova Scotia, obviously hockey's everywhere. Like to probably put it in perspective for our listeners, as often as you see soccer goals or basketball hoops at parks, I would argue that there's probably that same level of opportunity in hockey rinks that are out there in one way or another, whether that's an ice hockey rink or a ball hockey rink. So I'm curious, what's it like going from a place where hockey is the constant conversation and moving to a place like St. George where there is almost no hockey to even begin with without the efforts of Red Rock Hockey, obviously, and where we're growing from here?
Yeah, it was interesting because my path coming to St. George and previously living in other states in the US where it wasn't as popular, like California and others, I just, I kind of forgot hockey for a little bit, to be honest. Like I just didn't get that involved in even the following of my own team or other things. I kind of put it on the side, and it's difficult to do when there's not a community around it. And I think again with the pandemic was really what brought that a lot further into the forefront for me of me feeling this disconnect from where I grew up and the impasse of not being able to get there and not being able to have family come and it's like, man, I just longed for that a little bit. And so that's part of what really drew me back into not just playing more hockey, because we had been playing roller hockey, ball hockey, weekly, maybe once or twice a month we'd play, not that often, but enough to stick with it, to making it like this is going to be a thing that's happening all the time and I want to have happen for our kids and other kids and that kind of thing. So it is very different in a place like Nova Scotia where hockey would take over as a clear over the top front runner of all sports. If you think about how popular football and basketball and baseball are, you combine those into one sport. That's what hockey is in Canada. You know what I mean? It's like all those fans that they're all hockey fans in Canada, and Nova Scotia is a place where that's really the truth. I mean, there's just nothing else going on.
Yeah, it's more than a sport. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. There's a lot.
So that's awesome. So that leads me into it's a perfect transition because with you being from Nova Scotia, being in different states, like you said, just moving around. What is your NHL team that you've followed,
Mhm.
and who's been a player that you've always looked at to be as like a inspiration for the game?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up a Montreal Canadiens fan and have been my entire life. It's kind of in Nova Scotia, there's a mix of Montreal fans and Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Okay.
So you're not really close to either team. You're far enough from both that it's not obvious which one you should go for. But in these cases, you get to really, pick a team and then fight your rival every day at school or church or work or wherever, because you're always seeing the other team's fans and even in my own household. So my one brother and my father are Leafs fans, and my mother and I are Habs fans. And then my other brothers kind of hop between teams, and now it's in Vegas and has adopted them. So um, that's been my team and continues to be. I had a neat encounter with Saku Koivu as a kid. My dad went to Montreal and ate at a restaurant and got signature from Saku Koivu on a restaurant mat for me as a kid, which is really cool. And he's like similar in some ways to Maurice Richard, having gone through something really difficult. His cancer and his return to hockey. I like those stories.
That was special.
Going
Yeah.
through something and coming out the other side, the better for it. And so, yeah, he's an inspiration for sure.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought up that name. And actually, that does lead me into my next question as well, because getting to work alongside you both in, a professional role, if we want to call it that, or a board member role, or just, other things in passing, just as friends. What I've always been fascinated by is you're probably one of the most level-headed people that I've ever met before in my life. Now, if anyone knows anything about me, I am a constant ball of anxiety, and I am constantly having my emotions drive the bus, which is never ideal, as we all know. I guess my question is two-part. With all of your different roles, both in education, hockey, even as a father and a husband, what are some of the things that you do or some of the things that you kind of fall back on to keep your head so level so you're not making decisions with emotions? And second, what's some advice that you have for parents out there that have kids that are wanting to get into hockey, just from your own perspective? I know you have 4 kids that play yourself, obviously, or that play themselves, obviously, and I just kind of want to pick into your personal life brain a little bit. Kind of what keeps you level headed in all of those roles, but also what's maybe some advice you could throw out there if there's parents where they have kids that they want to get into hockey, or maybe parents that already have kids that are involved in hockey.
Yeah, well, I'm not always as level-headed as I might seem, I guess. That's first caveat, but I mean, I try to keep perspective on a lot of things. You know, when you're out at the rink and things are either heated because either the game's heated or a parent's upset or whatever, referee missed a call or whatever it is. I mean, there are a million things that could happen, and trying to keep perspective of why we're there, and a broader goal beyond hockey of developing kids and having good fun recreation for adults has always been a goal that kind of keeps you a little more grounded. If you're worried about the result of a particular contest or whatever, that's not really the way to go. And I think that's part of what's helped keep me level, and when other people might get a little flustered over something. So I would say for parents who are interested in getting their kids into hockey and who are looking for maybe ways to help their child also develop that type of longer term view or perspective or patience or resilience to overcome things when they're hard. I think it's a wonderful place to learn that. Red Rock hockey is a very forgiving atmosphere. It can be as demanding as you want to put into the time and effort, but it's also a pretty friendly and recreational environment for a lot of kids just to pick up a stick and learn amongst peers who haven't been playing for 10 years. Most of them have been playing for 2 years, if
Right.
that.
Right.
And so it's it doesn't take a ton of athleticism. It's pick up a stick and learn to play. And a lot of children have grown in their confidence, especially those who are maybe, in and of the age of like, hey, their peers have found their sport, they're playing travel soccer, or they're on this basketball team, or, planning to play in high school football, whatever. And they're kind of like, what am I going to do? A lot of those kids who have found us at Red Rock Hockey have found and become hockey players and have made part of their identity, which is a really cool thing to see. Huh?
That's a great answer.
No, you've definitely made an amazing impact, Cory, and Tommy too, with what you guys have been doing, and you touched on the equipment, what's needed, and kids just joining, and that's been one of the biggest hurdles in hockey development is how do you get kids started because it is such an expensive sport, and this is where I believe you can see that you really can get kids started just by getting a stick in the hand.
Yeah.
So talk about the process that you've gone through to acquire all of the equipment to have that provided for these kids, and then just go over what does the season look like for someone that would be joining for the first time? Like, what would they be getting?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with the last thing first.
Yeah.
If you're interested in ball hockey, we run seasons twice a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. So we just finished our fall season, which always ends right before Thanksgiving. And we'll always start our spring season right after spring break, and it'll run through to just before Memorial Day. So short enough that it's good and fun and doesn't drag out, but long enough to have a season of competition amongst teams and a short playoff and a championship series at the end of it. The sign up for this coming season is available now, and with early bird discount up until New Year's, and then it's around I think it's the 17th, maybe it's the 14th of January that we have a deadline for registration for the spring. So if you're interested, sign up right away, and that's at redrockhockey.com. And you can register both for adults or for kids. And when you do, you'll play, once a week, you'll play a game, you'll get a jersey. That's, nice sublimated jersey. They look really sharp. And then also we provide everything else that you need outside. So we give you the jersey, of course, you bring sneakers, everything else, we've got it for you. So all you need to play is, as a child anyway, you need a helmet and a cage. And we provide those helmets for the children so they're safe and they can be insured with our insurance. And then and we also provide sticks for all the children to play. And if you wanted other things, we sometimes have other additional equipment and protection, but none of that's really required. I mean, you can use it if you like, gloves or shin guards or, other things, shoulder pads and things, which some kids do, but you don't need to do that. We received that equipment, largely. We purchased most of that before we had the kids, just as an initial investment. So we purchased a lot of helmets. We purchased all the sticks. We've had some donations since then to help supplement that. We've had a group at the rinks at Irvine, inline rinks, who've donated a series of protective equipment for kids, mostly ice hockey used equipment, which has been good for kids to use, and that's been given out throughout the seasons. We've also had other individuals who have purchased a bunch of sticks and donated them to us. So we keep replenishing as those break and equipment wears out. We keep replenishing, but yeah, that's kind of how it's kind of come together. We just try to eliminate as many barriers as possible, right? You don't need to know a lot about hockey. You don't need any prerequisite skills. You just need to be able to walk or run and
just show up to the rink. Essentially, show up to the rink.
Show up to the rink, and it's a good time. And the price that we offer the experience for is also similar or less than any other city league or other things. So it's meant to be very affordable and a super easy entry into a sport that is unfortunately and infamously inaccessible because of those same things, prerequisite skills and cost of ice hockey is generally quite expensive. So
absolutely. And I've got one more here for you, and I'm going to put you in the uncomfy chair for a little bit, just because I know you don't like talking about yourself too much here. So you mentioned Dan DeCuster earlier as one of the early partners in Red Rock Hockey and helping getting the boards and setting up the relationships with maybe the city or helping facilitate some things. And it was actually Dan that came to both Gabe and I at the end of the season, and he wanted to do something that was really special, and he wanted to create the inaugural Cory Henwood Prestige Award. And for those who don't know what that is, think of the Willie O'Ree Award. Willie O'Ree was the first African-American player to play in the NHL. And since then, it's obviously contributed to the growth of the game for not only, everyone who can play it, but also for those really needing to be included. And obviously growing up in the times that Willie O'Ree did, not everyone had those opportunities to get into the game. And so Dan wanted to create the Cory Henwood Prestige Award to kind of parallel that, due to Cory's contributions on and off the surface to truly growing the game. It's essentially an award that will be given out every year moving forward for someone who is going above and beyond the status quo, both on and off the surface, to contribute to the growth of Red Rock hockey and the whole hockey community in its entirety. Now, obviously, you were pretty taken aback when you were presented with that award at our last game of the season this year. And I just wanted you to kind of speak to some of those emotions, whether it is the surprise. Obviously, we brought your family out there. We got a picture with all of your kids, your wife, and everything like that. And I got to say, I haven't heard a round of applause like that in quite some time. And but my favorite part was to see the emotions on your face, because I'll tell you this. I know Cory personally. I work with Cory personally. he's always a person who puts others first before he even worries about himself. So as you're presented with that award, kind of walk us through those emotions, what it meant to you, and honestly, just kind of speak to everything as a whole, bringing it full circle of where you've started and where it's at now that you've been presented with this award, and kind of have that hover space above everything where you can kind of take a step back and look at it and be like, wow, this is something truly special that people have created here.
Yeah, that was a big surprise and really, really cool. I was very taken aback, as you said, and you know, just a mention of Willie O'Ree, also from my neck of the woods, province right next to mine, is where he's from, and the kind of impact he's had. So I thought the comparison was really neat. I was very, like I said, surprised that there was recognition. I wasn't expecting anything like that, and I often, as you know, you guys know, I mean, I feel like this is such a community endeavor. There's such a big group of people involved that I don't like to be singled out very often. I know there's some things I take a lead on, I get that, but there's a huge group of people that play like key roles in this. So anyway, I think what was really cool about it mostly was seeing the whole community together, because it was midst of championship games. There was kids and families all on the rink. It just was a cool moment. It wasn't necessarily reflecting on me or anything else. I just thought it was neat to see how much the community's grown, and that does give me a little bit emotional to see the impact of all that's happened, and all the people that are connected with it and benefiting from it. And not because of anything in particular that I've done. I just feel like it's such an awesome thing for so many to be involved in, and that was really a neat moment to recognize how many people are now involved in our community, as volunteers, as hockey players, as people trying to help develop young kids and give families a place to play. So that was a really neat thing, and I'm really proud to be part of the Red Rock community. It's a cool group.
It's well deserved, buddy. Well deserved.
Yeah, certainly is, and I know I've only known you guys for the short period of time, right, that I've moved, but you've definitely, Cory, made a huge impact, and you are the definition of ambassador to the game, which is amazing, and why I love working with you guys and love seeing what you've been doing. So keep up the great work. And for our listeners, our watchers, continue to follow Red Rock Ball Hockey. Get your kids engaged. Like Cory said, just come to the rink. We'll take care of the rest. With that too is like this video, share this video, because everyone that wants to get involved needs to hear what Cory's talked about. And then also others that are involved in hockey already that are looking to make an impact, please contact Cory as well too. So we're looking to grow the game. Thank you for your time, Cory. It was amazing to get to know you more. Tommy, thank you again as well. I hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving weekend. Tommy will be back for Sunday night with our episode 7. But again, thank you everyone for watching, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys at the rink.
Awesome. See y'all out there.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, boss.